Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. It's really great that you've decided to join us. First of all, I thought we'd just give you a little bit of a rundown of why we're doing this. We've obviously done quite a few of these webinars before, and we've been very successful with it. Hopefully, we've given you lots of advice. We've got very distinguished guests, shall we say, with us today. First of all, we have Simon Schofield, who is acting as our co-host. He's going to be taking all of your questions in the Q&A. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a Q&A box where you can drop your questions in, your reservations, anything that you want to ask our guests, so you can find out all about making tax digital today. So it's really important that we get your feedback from you as well, and please do make sure you drop your questions in the Q&A box. So that's Simon. That's introduction to Simon. We then have Mr. Jon Cowley. Jon is a regular on this forum for us. He's been on doing a multitude of things over the last few sessions that we've done. So, Jon, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. I'm really pleased that you're here. And I
No
think
problem.
finally, I'd like to introduce our wonderful co-host with me, Suzi Green, who I've just called when we were chatting. I said she's my webinar wife because we seem to be spending so much time on webinars together. So anyway, Suzi, do you want to give us a little bit of background about how we're doing this and why we're doing it?
Yeah, honored to be a webinar wife, Paul. Yeah, it's really great to be here. We're back again. I hope some of you have seen some of the webinars we've done before, and this was a very obvious one. And this is all being supported by Backup Tech, who are they call themselves the support for technical entertainment. So it's very much people in technical roles across music, some broadcast, and what they do is they provide financial support for a whole number of reasons when people get into trouble. So whether that's some kind of unexpected event or illness, even issues running into addiction, but they're there for us. And these webinars came about as a way to hopefully try and educate us all. There's very much a culture, I think, in this industry for not talking about the money stuff. Not many of us work in this industry because we're interested in making huge pots of money. And hence, money tends to be something we might take care of for other people with budgets, but less so for ourselves. So the point of these webinars is very much to educate all of us and provide resources and links and places where you can find information about how to take care of your finances. And this one is a great big question mark. And just before we went live, I did actually ask Jon, our accountant, why? Why are we doing this? Because there is this whole kind of making tax digital that has been floating around for a while. And not many of us really know about it. There doesn't seem to be a huge amount of information around it yet. So that's why we're here. Shall I hand back to you, Paul?
Thank you very much, Suzi. I think that was fantastic. Yes. So Backup Tech are the ones who are helping us do this. They're helping us get this platform out and also pushing the message out. So we have to say thank you, first of all. Thank you very much to Backup Tech for all of their support. And just to make everybody aware on the call that the Backup Tech is there primarily to support you if you work in this industry, especially if you're a freelancer. If you fall onto hard times, those are the people that you reach out to. And because normally what happens with freelancers is they run around and we're so busy and we don't make time to actually get our tax together in January, people like Jon end up getting bombarded with people that haven't done their tax return or are struggling to pay it. And we've noticed there's a constant loop here. So the idea here is to give you the information. So let's dive straight in. So Jon, welcome to our webinar once again. Thank you very much for joining us.
That's no problem, Paul. Hope you're well.
I am
In
indeed.
in Dubai or
I mean,
wherever you
it's
are now.
sunny climes at the
I just
moment.
jumped.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I just jumped straight in and explain what MTD is for income tax. It's making tax digital, and the requirement is to keep digital records and do quarterly submissions to HMRC, which is, as I've explained before, completely ridiculous. but I'll go into more detail at a later date on this webinar. It affects sole traders and landlords from the 6th of April 2026. So from that date on, every quarter you need to make, if your income, gross income, that's not profit, it's turnover, is over £50,000 per year. Now that might not affect huge amounts of people, but it eventually will, because the threshold's going down in 2027 to 30,000, and then 20,000 in the following year, and then everybody who's a sole trader or landlord will need to be making quarterly submissions to HMRC.
So basically, John, sorry to cut across you. Sorry to cut across you. So basically, what we're saying is every single person that is a freelancer within the next couple of years, this is going to affect them, isn't it? They're going to be drawn into this, and if they don't pay attention to this, it's going to cause serious financial problems.
Yeah, correct. Unless there's a massive back down by HMRC and the government, which they've delayed it for 4 years already, but they're not going to delay it anymore. I don't think they're steaming full ahead with this. So unfortunately, eventually it will affect everybody that's a sole trader. It doesn't affect limited companies. It doesn't affect anyone that's employed. It is literally sole traders and landlords. And the catch is, if you're a self-employed individual and you have a rental property, it's the combined gross income, which is the £50,000 threshold. It's not individual. So if you have a sole trader that may have turnover of 30,000 and rental income of 20, they're going to be caught and will have to do quarterly submissions. Now, at the moment, it's based on your 24-25 tax return. Then it will be based on your 25-26 tax return. And it is that figure of turnover, not profits, which is important to remember. Unfortunately,
I was going to say, can I ask just to clarify? So that's this year, it's turnover gross 50K and over.
It's turnover, not profit. It's your gross income.
And then,
and as I say, if you have a
yeah. Well, the other thing I was going to
if you have a rental property as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a rental property as well, it's both of them combined, which is your threshold.
Got it.
But as I say, and if you have a rental property and a sole trade, you have to make a submission for each one. So it's, if you're that sort of, if you have a sole trade and a rental income, or two sole trades and a rental income, it's a separate submission for each one of those. So it's really quite a bit of a burden for anyone that's in that situation. I don't think any thought's gone into the cost implications. But anyway, it is what it is, and it's going to need to be done. I'm sure there'll be penalties that HMRC will levy if you're late with your returns. I know at the moment, if you miss 4 returns, it's an immediate £200 fine. But yeah, it's a massive burden for individuals and sole traders and landlords. But anyway, it is what it is. And what you need to do is keep digital records. So Excel files are fine, anything like that. Paper records are no longer acceptable. You need to detail your income, your expenses, just as you would do in your year-end submissions.
Can I ask a super quick question? Because we've got a question already, actually. It's a really good one. So I'm just being methodical, because it's so funny how it's quite confusing, because people have the way they pay tax and the way they're set up as a business in different ways. So just to absolutely clarify, so say you have set up as a limited company and you're an employee of your own limited company. You don't have a rental property. So that means you don't have to do this. Is that correct?
Well, no. If you've got your limited company doesn't have to make quarterly submissions unless it's VAT registered. So that's completely out of there. But if you are an employee having PAYE income, that doesn't count. If you have rental income, it only counts if your rental income, gross income's over 50,000. Then you do have to make quarterly submissions. So it's confusing, overly complex. Yeah, I don't agree with it, but it is what it is, unfortunately. The sort of deadlines you've got are, obviously, your tax year runs from the 6th of April to the 5th of April. So every quarter, you have to make a submission 1 month after the deadline, 1 month after that quarter. So your first quarter is going to be April, May, and June. It needs to be made, obviously, after that date. And then June, July, August, September, October. No, it runs in quarters like that. And it has to be made every quarter, as I say. There's several options out there for software. I've reviewed a number of them. Unfortunately, some are more complex than others. I found a very simple solution, which I'm using with my clients. But yeah, we can have a little demo of that later. I'm not sponsored in any way by them. I just found it the most simple one to use. After the 4 submissions you make, you then have to do an end of year submission, and then you have to do your normal tax return. So it's gone from 1 tax return once a year to 6 returns. And the 4 quarterly submissions and the final submission bear no association with your tax return. They're completely separate. So in my eyes, it's completely pointless, but it has to be done. And I'm sure eventually down the line, they'll want more accurate records and quarterly income tax payments, but that's not on the cards at the moment.
I wonder, Jon, if you've just been struck off HMRC's Christmas card list.
Well, I hope so. Probably turn up 8 months late anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, get it time for Halloween.
So it's burdensome, to be honest with you. So yeah, you've got four quarterly updates, 1 end of period submission, and then your final declaration, which is your tax return. If they're vastly different at the moment, there doesn't appear to be any consequences for that. So in theory, you could submit very basic figures for the 4 quarters and end of period, and then your normal tax return. And your tax payments will still be due 31st of January and 31st of July. No changes to that. No changes to the tax rules. And it doesn't really give you any great insight unless it just keeps you on top of how much you've earned and how much you've spent. There's no tax calculation or anything like that. It just gives you more admin, the need for software. It does mean that you can't leave it till January, which will probably help us out a little bit. But as I say, the end of year tax return can be completely different from your quarterly submissions at the moment. And that's really the basics.
And this will change every April now, won't it? So we're starting off at 50k of your gross as a self-employed person. That's for 2026,
right.
for the year starting 2026. What happens in 26, 27 and moving forward? Because it's 50 grand now. What happens in the following years?
Yeah, from the 6th of April, it goes down to £30,000 gross income.
Yeah.
That's not profit, that's turnover. So that's your gross invoiced income.
Yeah.
And the following year after that is 20,000.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's potentially everybody that's a sole trader, regardless of how much you invoice each quarter. You have to do quarterly submissions.
So basically, everyone's going to have to do this, and the idea now is to get ahead of this and start doing it. So I do believe you can start this year, can't you? And you can do it. Is it voluntarily? Even if you've not earned 50,000, you just start to do it, so you get used to doing this. So if you hit the threshold next year, that's something that HMRC are allowing sole traders to do. Is that correct?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can register voluntarily for MTD for income tax and make your quarterly submissions from the 6th of April this year. You don't have to be over 50,000, but I think most of my clients are going to start straight away because the software that I've found is very, very cheap and very easy to use. And it doesn't. If anybody is on the webinar that's a sole trader earning over £90,000 gross income and is VAT registered, unfortunately, you already know you do your quarterly VAT returns. You're going to need to do a quarterly MTD submission on top of that as well. But hopefully the software you currently use will be providing for that as well at the same time. As I say, it's burdensome for the taxpayer. And yeah, I'm not in favour of it, as you can probably tell by my...
There's a great question from Tony, actually. But real quickly, what happens if you start your tax year thinking I'm not expecting a very good year, and then suddenly things really pick up, and halfway through that year, you realise your situation's changing, you're about to get 50k or above.
So
but
you
miss, say, the first 2 submissions, then what happens?
Well, then you just start the following year. So it's your requirement to submit MTD returns is based on your previous year's tax return. So until they submit that tax return, they won't have to do them. But if they've gone over the 50,000 in any year, they need to start making submissions the following year. Same if they go over 30,000 after April 27, they need to start making submissions the next year.
Yeah.
And there's no requirement then if say you've had a couple of lousy years. I mean, a lot of people didn't have a great year last year. It's not on you then to then think, this year looks great. I'm just going to start doing this. You just wait until you.
No, it's based on the previous tax year. So for anyone that needs to do it for 2026, 27, it's based on the 24, 25 tax return, because that's the one that HMRC already has. The 25, 26 is not due until January 27. So they're basing it on 24, 25. If your turnover is below 50,000, you won't need to do it in 26, 27.
Really, that's a really good segue there, John, because we got a webinar chat there. Well, a question from Sharon says, I've just been told by my accountant that I don't have to start in April 2026 because my income in 24, 25 was under 50K. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it would be advisable to start getting into the habit of doing this. Because you alluded to before about penalties. Now, I know there's a penalty system now, for instance, for if you're VAT registered and you get points against you for late submissions. It would seem here that this is an easy target for revenue generated by the HMRC, because they will, if people will forget this, and there's a lot of people out there that miss their tax returns and they do mess them up. Some people are great at it and other people are not. But there's certain people out there that will get penalised by this. It would seem that way that HMRC will start to bring in a penalty system. So, you know, that in the short term, yes, you might get away with it for the first year, but after that, really, you're going to have to start doing this. I think, like you said, the only way around this is if HMRC, if there's an overwhelming demand to pull this in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. I think if you can start doing it early just to get prepared. The penalty system, again, is, as you say, Paul, it's the same. At the moment, it's the same as VAT. You get penalty points. As soon as you get 4 points, you get a £200 penalty. To be honest, I think the first year, 26, 27, it's going to be they've said it's going to be a soft landing approach. How long that lasts, I don't know. If they realise that hundreds of thousands of people just aren't bothering doing this, they might get a bit tough on it. But at the moment, it's going to be a soft landing. And I would say that anybody that's already turning over £30,000, they may want to start 26, 27 just to get the hang of it, because they're going to need to do it in 27, 28 anyway. But it's completely up to them. There's no pressure on them doing it. They don't have to.
Yeah. And technically, you can, by the sound of it, in this interim, because if there's no relevance towards the end of the year, and the figures that you submitted, it's all still based around your final tax submission. So I'm not suggesting this for one moment that people would just make it up, but I'm sure that's going to happen in some instances in it where people will just go, well, I'll just estimate it and put it in. And we're not advocating this at this time, by the way, to anybody. Let's not advise to do this. Let's just be very clear on that.
I think HMRC will probably look at it and say, right, well, your full quarterly submission suggested this. Your end of year submission has been completely different. Can we see your digital records and see what the difference is? I don't think they've got the manpower to do that. And as I say, they're not going to get any more revenue from it. But it is important to keep digital records. But on the option that I've looked at called MTD Assist, you have to upload a figure for income and a figure for expenses every quarter, and that's it. As long as you keep digital records in the background somewhere of your actual trading. If HMRC ever want to look at them, you can produce a spreadsheet to show them. I'm sure eventually, if there's huge difference, they will be investigating them. But at the moment, it bears no resemblance to the final submission, your normal tax return.
There's a couple of questions in the chat there, Susie, if you want to take over with them.
Sure. I was going to say, it almost sounds like this is some kind of soft launch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe this is going to get tighter as we go on. So Tony asked a very good one, kind of what is the point question. If it doesn't matter that your quarterly returns don't match your year return, what is the purpose of it according to HMRC? So I'm wondering what their official line is, why they're bringing this in.
I'm yet to find a purpose for this, if I'm honest, because the recording guidelines are so basic that at the moment, I think they just want to get the information in and then get your final tax return as normal. I think eventually they will want accurate reporting, and they will want quarterly tax payments, but there's nothing in the pipeline at the moment. And as I said from the start, I find this completely useless by HMRC and the government. And it's not the Labour government. It's been coming for years, and it's been delayed for years. As Paul says, I wouldn't advocate just making them up. I'd simply go through your bank statement, see what you've earned, see what you've spent, excluding your own personal drawings, put the figures in, and then do your normal tax return. It's that basic, really, at the moment. But all these things start off like that, and eventually they'll become more and more complex.
I mean, I wonder if it's like, I was talking to someone about, I know in Spain, apparently they already file quarterly. And maybe I don't know about other European countries, but maybe we're coming into line with what other countries do already.
I think you're right. I think quite a few European companies have to report quarterly. But as I say, we still have to make our tax payments every 31st of January, 31st of July at the moment. So I personally think it's a test phase for a number of years before they've got all the system down and everything in place. Eventually, I want to link direct to your bank account and go from there. But I think if people can do it more accurately each quarter, then at least their year-end tax return production is going to be much more straightforward and can be done much earlier, rather than leave it to January. If you've done your quarterly returns up to April, why not submit your stuff to your tax advisor then, and get your return done in May? The tax still won't be due until January, but at least you know what you owe them, and it's not a big surprise.
So actually, even though I was quite sure of the official purpose right now, it's a useful exercise in that rather than opening up all those envelopes of receipts on the 30th of January, you're kind of getting ahead and you've got forecasting as well. We've got a couple of things about limited companies. I know in the chat there was someone saying about, is it hard? Well, kind of the gist is there's another one here from Henry too. What are your thoughts on setting up a limited company if you're currently a sole trader? Might it potentially reduce costs, admin, headspace once MTD kicks in?
I mean, you can set up a limited company to avoid the quarterly returns, but your accountancy fees are going to be much higher. The reporting requirements are much more strict. There's statutory accounts, there's personal tax returns, there's corporation tax returns. And the tax benefits have completely gone from limited companies. There are no tax benefits to running a limited company than there is as a sole trader. So from that point of view, I'd probably stay as a sole trader. Unless you're looking at employing lots of people and growing a business, then a limited company structure would probably be better. But that would need a bit more discussion as to see what your personal circumstances are.
Very conveniently, we covered this, didn't we, in our setting up shop, and we did some exercises on the differences between sole traders. So we do have that available. It's on the Backup Tech website, and all of the 3 webinars are available, and it's the first one. And Jon does go into that into depth. So if you want to find that information, please head to the Backup website, and we'll give you all of this information as well.
And I think the general gist that came from it was setting up a limited company isn't quite as lucrative as it once was.
Yes, that's correct.
Depending on
it's definitely not.
We got loads of questions actually, and some of these I know we're about to cover. Like, can you do this personally? Does the rent room in your home scheme make you a landlord? Presumably that's a yes.
If you're declaring income, I would think, yeah,
and you should be declaring it.
Yeah, that's good tax advice, Jon.
That all comes into it. If you've already submitted tax returns in the past with a sole trade and rental income, then they're going to have that information to hand with HMRC. And the demo software that we're going to have a 2-minute quick video of will show you exactly what information HMRC hold and how to make those uploads. As I said, there's lots of other softwares available. QuickBooks, Xero, Sage. There's a couple of free options. There's also software available that's linked to certain bank accounts if you open up business bank accounts. But as some of you probably know, trying to get a business bank account these days, or any bank account, is fairly difficult with a high street bank. So good luck with that. I tend to use other banks to set up accounts because it's much more straightforward.
Okay. Well, that's a good segue. Sorry, Suzi, go on.
You know what? That's a really interesting thing. And I know we're talking about making tax digital, but why has it become more difficult? Is that a money laundering thing, or what's changed about? Because
I think the
if people are
problem with banks
about,
is
Sorry, I was going to say, if you're thinking about owning up a business,
Yeah, it's just
you
with
haven't got one already, then why is that so hard?
yeah, it's. I think the difficulty comes with opening bank accounts for limited companies more than sole traders. The high street banks simply don't want the business. There's lots of paperwork to fill out. Uh, Online banks are much easier to use for personal business accounts and for limited company accounts. The high street banks, I've had so many clients that can't open bank accounts. They've done months worth of paperwork and still don't get the bank account, and they're just all being directed to online banking. There was a period a number of years ago where particularly high street banks were offering their clients several £100s to move to an online bank account for their limited companies because they just simply didn't want the business. So yeah, if you've got a personal bank account and you're a sole trader, then that's absolutely fine. And you can use whatever software you feel that you would like to. As I say, we'll do the demo of MTD Assist, which is something that I've looked at for my clients. Several of my clients are going to be using it. Very straightforward, very easy to use.
Okay. There is a nice question there from, I think it's Sina. She said, is it a definitive requirement to pay for an accounting software, or is an Excel spreadsheet sufficient? I would presume
I didn't
that's
catch all
because,
that, but I'm guessing it was, yeah.
shall I read that again?
I think you probably said, no, it's okay. I think you probably said, do you need an accounting software? Can you use Excel?
Yeah.
So the answer to that is you can use Excel, but in order to upload it to MTD, you need a bridging software. So in other words, you need an accountant to do it who has the bridging software, or you need to use an accountancy software like QuickBooks or Sage or something like that, or the demo that I'm going to do, MTD Assist.
Okay. Shall we show everybody this MTD Assist video now? It's a very short video. It's 2 minutes long. It gives you an idea of just how to submit it and how to do it. So just bear with us. We'll share this with you, and I hope you enjoy it.
With MTD Assist, you will stay fully compliant with HMRC's digital requirements without having to do extra bookkeeping or learn complicated software. Once your accountant invites you to MTD Assist, you'll receive an email invitation to set up your account. Click the View Here button to get started. You will be asked to provide your mobile number and then enter the verification code sent by text. Next, you'll be prompted to create a government gateway account. A simple guide will be provided to help you get set up. If you already have an account, you can click Yes and Continue. Finally, you need to authorize MTD Assist to make submissions to HMRC on your behalf. You will need to sign into your HMRC account and give permission to allow MTD Assist to connect with HMRC. And that's it. You're now connected and ready for submitting your quarterly submissions for Making Tax Digital. You will be asked to download and save the relevant spreadsheets for your quarterly submissions. In your dashboard, you will see the income sources HMRC has on record for you. Keep an eye on your inbox for your quarterly reminders and enjoy an easier way to stay compliant with MTD. When it's time to upload your next submission, simply log into your MTD Assist account, click Start Now, and upload the relevant spreadsheet. Don't worry, you'll have a chance to review everything before it's sent. If you need to make any changes, just update your spreadsheet and re-upload it. It's that easy. If you have any questions or are ready to register for MTD Assist, reach out to your accountant today.
And there we go. It's really very basic, quite simple.
Can I just reiterate then that obviously that's one type of software, but they will all have similarities, as in it will be somewhere you upload figures, basic figures. Is it helpful to just go through kind of what the figures will be? What they'll be?
I'll go through MTD Assist. When you have your income sources, you download the spreadsheet that they provide, and for each quarter, all you need to do for that is put your total sales and total expenditure, and then upload it, and that's done. Other softwares such as Free Agent, QuickBooks, Sage, they generally link to your bank account, and it's more bookkeeping software. So you need to go in and individually allocate each transaction to income or expenses and the expense type. So MTD Assist is very basic. It's the basic figures, where the other softwares on the market are more bookkeeping softwares, which can grow with your business. There's nothing wrong with them. They tend to be a little bit more expensive. and it means you've got to do proper bookkeeping rather than just submit individual figures on a spreadsheet.
Can
So I
I?
suppose, go on.
Oh, go on. You go, Paul. I'll come
So
after
I
you.
suppose what we're saying is, yes, you could do it yourself. By all means, you can do it yourself. But one of the major advantages of having an accountant and a chartered accountant, or sort of FCCA like yourself, John, is that your books can be certified. And especially if you're looking to borrow money, if you're looking to get finance, if you're looking to buy a house. So it's always advisable to start going down the correct route, isn't it? And get some professional advice when you're talking about your accounts.
Yeah, so if you want to go and get mortgages, generally you're asked to do an accountant certificate to confirm your income, get your calculations done, and sign them off. And as a chartered accountant, you can do that. If you're not a chartered accountant, not a qualified accountant, you can't do that. And mortgage companies normally require a chartered accountant to sign those off for your mortgage.
Okay.
Can I recap on or sort of try and gather in a few queries in the chat about other things that would count as income that would be part of that gross figures?
Mm-hmm.
What about something like income from a pension or interest from a
No,
savings account? Nope, they're exempt.
it's just sole trade income and rental income. Nothing else is covered. If you're PAYE, that doesn't come into it at all. It's just sole trade income and rental income.
Same for shares. That was another question.
Yeah, it's just sole trade and rental income. There's nothing else. No investment income, no interest income, no PAYE income. It's just your sole trade and your rental income. That's it.
Got it. Okay, I'm just wondering if there's anything we missed. Has anyone else got any other questions?
There's a question down the bottom here from Amy. It says, it may have been covered, but do you submit April to June in June or September?
So
The first 3 months,
April to
basically.
June. Yeah, it'll be the 5th of April to 5th of May, June to 5th of July. So it'll be April, May and June will be submitted in July or by the 5th of August. So you get a month to submit it. And that's the same with every other quarter. So the end of the quarter is obviously the 5th of every month, 3 months to a quarter, and you get a month to submit it after that deadline. So you'll return to, the 5th of, let me just get the dates here. Yeah, so you return to the 5th of July, which will be April, May and June, will be due by the 5th of August. And the return to 5th of October will be due 5th of November. Return to 5th of January will be due, see, the month after that. So you get a bit of time. It's just like a VAT return. If anyone's VAT registered, you get a month to submit it. And all of the deadlines and information is available on those notes that are going to be available to anyone that's listening.
Yeah, we'll do as normal. What we will do at the end of this, we'll do a summary, and we've also got some PDF sheets that will give you all the relevant dates. There's also some information there from Jon about his what Jon can do. Just so you're aware, Jon does work within our sector as well as many other sectors, and does look after quite a lot of freelancers, including myself. The advantage of working with Jon, and I can say this wholeheartedly, is that he's very much on the ball. He's looked after me for many, many years as a personal recommendation. But if you are a freelancer and you work within our industry and Jon ends up working with you and you pay him money, then Jon makes a donation to Backup Tech. So bear in mind that you'll be helping to support your colleagues as well. And Backup Tech is one of those charities that we really try to push forward to get funding for. So don't think that we are pushing Jon in any shape or form. The only reason I'm suggesting that, Jon, if you want some advice, you go to Jon, is because it will help to benefit your colleagues in the future, people that really may need some help.
And just to go back,
sorry, Jon.
Sorry, just to go back on the pricing, if I'm allowed. MTD Assist is £34 plus VAT per year.
Okay. And is
Whereas
that
other softwares are more expensive? Yeah.
Yeah. And if somebody was to do it with yourself, for instance, or any accountant, they would get this software for it and be able to use it. But does that mean that accountant then has to prepare your end of year accounts for submission? Do they have to do that?
It would, because you'd have to be engaged as a client. If if you want to use MTD Assist with any accountant who's using it, if your accountant's not, you might want to tell them it's a good option, a good solution. And the individual can do the submissions themselves every quarter, and the accountant will do their personal tax return. Or the person can do their personal tax return as they normally would, can log in online and do it themselves. But I think to use MTD Assist, you have to go through an accountant, which is a little bit of a hook. But it is what it is. Other softwares are available that you can just do everything yourself.
Yeah. I think most freelancers, though, spend so much time being incredibly busy, and we go through this period of famine and feast. And I think there was a comment earlier on which somebody said, I'm looking forward to doing submissions in the middle of a field on a blue string internet this summer. So I think it's one of those things that as we all like to class ourselves as professionals, if we are going to be professional about our careers, then giving advice as we do, with whatever level you work at within this industry, we should take our own advice and say seek advice from a professional, because it's always advisable. Because your mate Dave down the pub might not know the best way forward for you. Whereas in this instance, an accountant, not just John, any other accountant will be able to give you good advice. And the advice is always make sure that they are a chartered accountant, so you know that they're because anyone can set themselves up as an accountant, I believe, John. You don't have to be qualified. Is that correct?
That is correct, unfortunately.
It's a bit like anyone can set themselves up as a tour manager or a production manager and call themselves a production manager when they put a high vis on. Any more questions in the chat that we can see, Susie?
I was going to actually I can see that I haven't looked at the link. Priya's put, it's a link to Gov UK, making tax digital software. And I don't know if that's a list of softwares, but I was just going to say something about software, because I was just looking this afternoon of what gets reviewed, what's meant to be good. I use QuickBooks. I feel like I suffer for that decision I made about 12 years ago, because it started dirt cheap, and the price seems to go up every 6 months, and now I feel like I'm paying a lot of money for it, and it's monthly. But I'm hooked in and I'm used to it, and I hate doing these things. And I understand that's the same for Sage. You know, a lot of these things they have cheap when you start, and it doesn't stay like that. So hence something like that MTD Assist sounds like it's a flat annual cost, but a lot of them charge monthly.
A flat annual fee. As I say, the only thing is you need an accountant to administer the software for you. I did see a question there from I think it was Mr. Schofield. There are other softwares like Sage, which is a free option. At the moment, it's free with Sage, where you can do it as an individual. QuickBooks you can do as an individual. Xero you can do as an individual. You don't need an accountant to do that for you. There are several options available. And I think if you Google MTD software for income tax, there'll be a lot of options there that you can use. You don't always need an accountant, but as Paul said, I think it's advisable, especially if you're looking to get a mortgage or do some financial planning or whatever you want to do. But as I say, it's completely up to the individual. Not everyone needs an accountant, and I still get bagfuls of receipts every January. So I'm hoping that's going to stop. You never know.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be a boring place if everyone had all of the same things, where we all did the same thing and we were all the same, we're not different? And I'm sure it would make your life easier to not get really bags full of receipts, John. But what would you be doing in January? You'd be bored.
I'd still be doing tax returns, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. Now, there's one question here. How about if you have you own a limited company, but also have income generated outside the company from which you fill in self-assessment returns?
Yeah, as I say, if it's a sole trade, then and it's the income, the turnover is over 50,000, you need to make returns on that sole trade,
and that's gross for that outside of his limited company. So any gross income he gets.
Yeah, if he has a limited company and a sole trade, the limited company is excluded from this. It's the sole trade. If that's over 50k turnover, gross income, he needs to make MTD return just for that sole trade.
Yeah. Just a quick one on the link, the Making Tax Digital software link. It does mainly give you VAT, and there's 467 links on there, so there is quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah, so if you Google Making Tax Digital for income tax,
yeah,
it should be a bit more specific on the HMRC website. because MTD's been around for VAT for several years now.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any more questions at the moment? I'm just looking, make sure that we've not missed anybody. Anybody got any more questions before we start to wrap up this session?
It's so funny. I feel like there was sort of a rising panic about 15 minutes into this call. It's kind of calmed right down now. It's like this sort of inevitable evil that we all have to engage with on some level, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I guess the kind of recap is, again, it might be worth just saying again, key dates or the thresholds for key
Mhm.
dates, um, which is 50K end of this year,
Yeah,
30K and the next or tax year after, 20K the year after that,
yeah,
and then in theory, everyone. And currently it
potentially everybody. Yeah,
yeah, and currently it may bear no relation to your final January tax return, but
yeah.
that will probably
And I
start
think
becoming more.
going back, there was a question earlier which flashed up. Someone said that they didn't earn over 50K in 24-25, but will earn over 50K in 25-26. Will they need to do making tax digital returns? Currently, they won't, because their 24-25 tax return shows them under 50K. But as soon as they submit that 25-26 tax return, they'll need to start making their quarterly returns the following tax year. Just to go back on that question asked by somebody that I noticed.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just very quickly then. So the key points are the 5th of April this year, the 5th of April next year, and by the 5th of April in the third year, this will pretty much cover everybody if you are a freelancer, because most people will be earning, I would hope the vast majority of people will be earning over £20,000. Then after that point, everybody has to submit it regardless, and that's the correct.
Yes, that is anyone that's a sole trader or has rental income will have to do that. And I just saw a comment there saying somebody's accountant's doubling their fee. Unfortunately, if your accountant's doing your quarterly MTD returns, it's 4 times as much work, and these returns need to be done. So we have to charge something. If you decide to go with MTD Assist through me or your accountant, you can submit them yourself. You'll need to pay for the software, but you can do the submissions yourself, and your accountant will do your normal tax return, and shouldn't need to double their charges. If I was doing the submissions, yes, I would charge for them because it's my time. But yeah, it's unfortunately, I don't think they thought about the cost implications.
Okay, there's a couple of comments here. One says, but it's just income and expenses which I can provide. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what that is. That's from Jamie. I'm not sure whether they mean
yeah.
they
So
can't prove anything that's coming in.
no, I mean, as Jamie said, all he's providing is 2 figures, income and expenses,
Yeah,
and the accountant's doing it. There may be simple figures as he's put there,
yeah,
but your accountant's still got to spend the time to upload those details. And as a service provider, time is charged.
yeah,
As I say, with optional other softwares, you can do it all yourself and just get your accountant to do your normal tax return.
yeah.
That is always, and it's the same option with MTD Assist. You can do it yourself, but your accountant will do your normal tax return.
I think one thing to bear in mind here is that many of us, once you've got built up a reputation in this industry, you might have 10, 20, or if you're really old like me, you've got nearly 35 years in the industry. And I always say to people, when you give them a day rate and they say, oh, well, it's only 2 hours work. And I say, you're not paying for 2 hours work. You're paying for 35 years of experience that I will bring to the table when I work on your job as a project director or as a technical director. So I think that's one thing to bear in mind, that yes, it might be
Yeah,
simple figures, but what you're actually doing is you're giving it to somebody that's professional, that knows what to do with it and won't mess it up. Because once this becomes mandatory and you have to do this, and HMRC, like you say, you start to look at this, you will have to make sure it's right. Because if not, then they will start to investigate you, because we're all quite easy targets, aren't we? I mean, we don't need to mention the fact that Starbucks and all of the companies and Costa Coffee don't pay any tax in the UK, but the vast majority of people working within our industry all do pay their tax. Whether it's on time or not is a different matter, but we still all pay tax. Um,
I was going to ask, I don't know, it might be controversial, but both Nikki and Jamie made really interesting points about, obviously, yeah, I mean, we're covering this, there's more workload. Is there a very rough ballpark scale, if you like? What might it cost say, a sole trader to engage an accountant to take care of the accounts up to sort of earning round about 50 for starters? Is it possible
Um,
to say that? I might be plucking
a
figures from
normal a
there.
normal tax return, a normal tax return without the MTD submissions would be £200 to £250 plus VAT. With the
Annually.
MTD submissions annually, yeah. With the MTD submissions, we would look to charge between £25 and £75 per quarter, depending on how much information we need to do and how long it takes. But what I'm trying to do with my clients is to get them to do it themselves through MTD Assist, so they don't have to pay that; they just have to pay for the software. So you are in theory looking at double your accountancy fees if you want your accountant to do it. I think that's across the board. That's going to be standard. But the more you can do yourself, obviously the less cost it's going to be for you.
Great. And thank you very much to Priya. She's just put us in with the exact link for the government, which is the software that's compatible with making tax digital for income tax. So thank you very much for that, Priya. As I said, we will be sharing all of this information, all the webinar chat and the questions asked, as well as doing a copy of the video, and it will all be uploaded onto YouTube via backup text, so you'll be able to watch this and our horrible ramblings and misfortunes that we've made along the way with this webinar. One more link there as well. A past podcast. Priya is absolutely doing us sterling work here by putting the links into the chat for us. So thank you very much, Priya. That's much appreciated. Sharon has asked, can we share Jon's details? He charges less than my accountant. Absolutely, Sharon. Definitely, we will pass Jon's details on. We will pass them out with all of the details. If you have an urgent requirement, it is Jon Cowley, Jon spelled Jon, and Jon is a chartered accountant at David Howard Accountants. If you Google him, he comes up. His lovely smiling face comes up straight onto the company website. So if you need to contact him urgently, you can do. As we're fast approaching 10 o'clock, we were hoping, sorry, 10 o'clock, 7 o'clock. That's the time difference. We wanted to keep this one as short as possible. We knew it would probably run for 45 minutes to an hour. So I think we're in good shape. Could I just give you a moment for anybody while I ramble on once more? If you have a question, please drop it in now. In the meantime, once the webinar is finished, when we end the webinar, there will be a very quick 5-question survey just to find out whether or not we've actually made a difference to you, whether it was useful to you, and also to find out what you do, where you work in the industry. It's 5 questions. It'll probably take you 20 seconds. And we'd really appreciate if you do that, because then we can feed it back to backup and say, actually, we are helping to try and make a difference to all the wonderful people that are freelancers in our industry. Any questions that you can see that have just dropped in, Suzi?
No, I'm marveling at what people get charged by their accountants. I know that I had 1 year I went to a fancy music industry accountant, not you, Jon, but one of the really big ones, thinking, yeah, they'll know more. It cost me an arm and a leg. And then I left at the end of that first year. And now I have a bog standard non-music industry accountant. But whilst it probably cost me less money, it means they know less about things, some of the things you can charge for, things like, I'm limited, what you can do about your PDs. And so I tend to I do lean on Dave down the pub and various other people who probably pay more money for music industry accountants to kind of get that advice. But I do think it is worth, if you feel you're being overcharged, I think it is always okay to ask for a breakdown of the charges, and we'll talk to each other. What are other people paying? So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Is there a review of MTD Assist software so a comparison can be made? What I did earlier when I was nosing around looking for different softwares, I used the the Oracle ChatGPT. Asked what are good, what gets highly rated, and the ones that come up. I mean, ironically, QuickBooks comes up, even though I said it's bloody cost a fortune. There was another.
Yeah, I think.
Go on.
So I think with MTD Assist, because it is an accountant's-led software, so you can't subscribe to it as an individual. There's less reviews available, but if you look at glasscubes.com, who is the company that make it, there's lots of information on there. As I say, I've used it. I'm using it for several of my clients because it's just the most straightforward option. Thanks, Simon. There is the link, and have a look. As I say, there's lots of other software options available, but the more individuals can do themselves, the less they're going to get charged by their accountant.
There was one that came up, and again, I can't verify if it's any good or not, and it was called ClearBooks, and it's free.
Yeah.
So, have you heard of it?
I've heard of ClearBooks, yes. A lot of things with free software, there's something somewhere to make their money. And I can imagine it might be free for the first year and then they'll charge you for it or whatever. I can't really say. But as you know, with QuickBooks, with Sage, with Xero, with all of those, they start off very cheap and they end up being quite expensive, especially for a small sole trader that simply doesn't need a full bookkeeping package. They can just, as I say, use something much more simple.
Once again, thank you to Priya. She has put your LinkedIn details on the chat, John. So you'll be inundated with people checking you out on LinkedIn. So we are coming towards the end of our 10. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, if you can supply my email address, they can just email me direct, and I'll get back to them. I can't promise I'll get back to them very quickly at this time of year, but I'll try my best to set up a meeting or conversation in early February to see what we can do going forward. But yeah, I'm there to help.
Consider that done.
We have obviously the recording, we'll have a transcription, and we'll have some resources as well, which we can share to everyone who registered for this meeting. And it will be up on the backup site and on the back lounge site too. So yeah, I think we're done, right? Wow. Has anyone glazed over? Have we made anyone cry?
Yes, there is an awful lot to take in, and it is quite difficult because we're not used to doing this kind of thing. But hopefully you found it very, very useful. Real special thanks to Jon for once again joining us and giving up his time and his effort, and it is very much appreciated. We know how much you support our industry, and it's really, really appreciated. Of course, to Simon Schofield, the hostess with the mostess in the background there, making sure that we get all the questions and all the stuff through the chat. So thank you very much to Simon. And without a doubt, my co-host, Suzi Green, who is always a pleasure, never a chore to work with. So Suzi, thank you very much. And I will leave you to say goodbye to everybody before we end the webinar.
Likewise. Thank you, Paul. I'm still wondering who rambles more, you or me. It's probably edit this one down.
I'd say Paul.
Right, Paul.
Thanks, Jon.
Thank you, everyone who's attended. We'll share the recording. If you have any last questions that you think, oh, damn it, I should have asked that. I'm just going to put another. Oh, how do I do this? Hang on, everyone. We have a sort of back lounge info at the backlounge.org. If anyone thinks of anything else, or again wants Jon's contact details or anything, please email. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll speak to you soon. Take care. All the very best.